Hi there, this is Dr. Matthew J. Traum from Engineer Inc. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate the assembly and operation of the PASCO stress strain apparatus, that is part number AP-8214A. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video you have this apparatus and you have the manual, so I won't go into great detail with what's in the manual, other than to simply point out where in the manual you can find the detail steps for the assembly that we are about to do. The way that I'm going to structure these videos is I'm going to spend about 7 or 8 minutes per video, go through as many steps as I can fit in that 7 to 8 minute time period, and then pause and let you guys take a break, catch up as you need to, and then start the next video. So we're actually going to have a series of videos that are going to contain all the steps for assembly and operation, and if you view all the videos, then you will see the entire process. Okay, so with no further delays, let's get into it. This is the manual, and the assembly process starts here on the bottom of page 4. Equipment setup. So the first thing we're going to do is attach the rotary motion sensor to the apparatus platform. Now I'm going to show you how to do that here with a screen capture. There we go. Okay, so this is the base of the PASCO stress strain apparatus. It's quite rigid, as it has to be, so that it itself does not deform as it is imposing a strain on the sample. It's got a couple of pins that should be built in as you get it out of the box, and it has a couple of holes, and we'll use those holes to attach the various sensors. As I flip this over, notice on the back there are 5 rubberized feet. The purpose of those feet is to prevent the experiment from slipping and sliding on the lab bench when you're running it. You can even use this 5th foot to clamp, if you have a large C-clamp, clamp the apparatus to the lab bench so it won't go anywhere while you're operating it. But we'll get to that as we move through the lectures. Now, as I flip it back in its correct orientation, you might notice there are a few components here that might be attached to yours that I've intentionally removed from mine, just in case you get it in this state and you need to see how to attach those things. So there is a lever component which goes here, and there is a rotary motion to linear motion actuator which goes here. Those typically come attached, but again I've removed them so I can show you how to attach them if necessary. So the first thing we're going to do is attach the rotary motion sensor, but before we even do that, we have to attach a rotational motion to linear motion actuator, which is this component. Now the way that this works is I rotate this knob here and I get linear motion from this component here. It'll make more sense when I actually attach it. So if I flip this guy over, I notice that there are 2 holes, one here and one here, and those line up with the holes here and here. And I'm going to use 2 of the larger machine screws. There are my screws. And I am also going to use a 3/16 hex head, there we go, to do the assembly. So what I'm going to do is turn this guy on his side, and I'm going to push these machine screws through the holes in the base, like so, and then I'm going to line up the holes on the rotary to linear actuator and screw everything in, initially just by hand, and then we'll tighten up. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. Tighten up with the hex heads. Okay, that one is tight. That one is tight, so we're all set. So let me put this back down on its base. Move this out of the way. Okay, so we've now got the rotary to linear actuator installed. Now notice I can kind of slide this back and forth freely, and that is not desirable. When we get into the final system, you want this to be rigid, and so PASCO has included a sleeve And here's the sleeve. You can see the sleeve has kind of a curved little arm here, and that curve in the arm fits into the curve of this knob. And what it does when it's put in place is essentially prevents that knob from sliding back and forth, as I just showed you before. So that's one purpose. The other purpose is that there is a little rubber band that attaches this rotary to linear actuator to the rotary motion sensor, and that sleeve that I just showed you, which is right here, holds the rubber band in place. It holds it from slipping away. So we have to keep our eye on two things as we're doing this. First, we're going to slip the band over and put it in place. And then second, we're going to take these two machine screws and put them in the holes. And these screws are a little bit smaller, so we are going to use a 5/32 hex head. There it is right there. And do the installation. So what I'm going to watch out for here is I want to make sure that the rubber band is in place, that it doesn't slip out. And I want to push the sleeve so that it's holding the rotation knob in place, and then I'm going to put these screws in initially just finger tight, and then I will tighten them down with a screwdriver here in a moment. Now notice the rubber band is contained between the sleeve and the edge of the rotary to linear actuator. That's good. If it were on the other side, I wouldn't be able to get it onto this spool. And we'll see in a second why that's important. So I'm going to use my hex and my screwdriver and just tighten these guys down. So that one's tight. And okay, that one's tight. So now we should be all set. So now I do want to check to make sure as I pull this back and forth that it doesn't slide in and out as it did before. So that's good. The sleeve is doing what it's supposed to do, and the rubber band is pulled over the spool as it should be. Now notice I was showing before how this operates. As I rotate here, notice I'm getting some displacement here. This again converts rotary motion into linear motion. So we'll turn it the other way, and you can see that this moves outward. So ultimately I'm going to clamp the sample here, and I'm going to rotate this component by hand, and that's going to cause the sample to elongate. That's the strain in my stress strain apparatus. So I have not yet connected the rotary motion sensor, but this is a pre-step to that connection. I've hit 8 minutes, so I'm going to pause here, close out this video, let you guys catch up, and we'll pick up with the next video by installing the rotary motion sensor. See you in a moment. Thanks.